it's Spooky Monster, and today I'm going to be talking about my 2 recent Poirot reads and why I personally think they are the worst in the series so far. Now, obviously, these 2 books are part of a collection, and I actually really like these because they're simple, and they got the gold covers, and most of the Agatha Christie Poirot series books that I get from my library are this. Of course, I did have to get those large prints once, and I did like those covers, but that's not the point. The point is that this is number 28, and this is number 29 at the series. We're going to start by talking with Taken at the Flood, and then move on to The Underdog and other stories. Now, I will start off by saying that Taken at the Flood received a resounding 2 out of 5 stars from me. That being said, I actually really liked this book. Confusing? A little bit, but it will make sense soon. Okay, so this book was very unique. I loved it. It was more character driven than it was plot driven. We have tons of different types of characters in this book. I was actually kind of liking the family dynamics that were going on. It was a slightly larger cast than I usually like. There was a lot of names to remember, and there was multiple times where I had to go back to figure out who someone was, and it's like, oh, that's the second aunt twice removed from the uncle's side, you know, all that fun stuff. But because of all the family member ties, it did deal with some very real problems in this book. Now, you could tell just by reading the first chapter, but there are a lot of coincidences in this book. Like I said, the first chapter especially, big indicator. So it does rely a bit on luck for Poirot to solve this mystery, but obviously it gets solved. It's a Poirot mystery. Now, I was loving the diverse cast. I was loving to hate the heroine's second love interest because he was super annoying. Ooh, super annoying. And I was loving all the twists and turns that were happening in the end. And then the mystery's solved. It was beautiful. I was like, what? And it was all that you expected from an Agatha Christie novel. And then the chapter after the mystery was solved happened. Okay, so I can't exactly tell you guys why I gave this 2 out of 5 stars without being spoily. So what I'm gonna do is put a timestamp somewhere down here. Oh look, beautiful timestamp. And you guys can skip to that if you don't want to hear a spoiler, and I'll start talking about the next book. But if you haven't skipped yet, the reason I gave this 2 out of 5 stars is because in the end, I guess you could say heroine of the story, our main female character, goes back to her first love interest, who near the end of the book tries to kill her. And when I say tries, I mean he came extremely close to it, and he did not stop. Poirot stopped him. So he would have killed her, and she went back to him and was like, when you had your arms around my neck and you said I was the only girl that you'd ever have, and that if you couldn't have me, no one could, well, it was then that I knew that you were the one for me. And she goes back to live with him and to marry him, even though he almost killed her. And I'm just like, someone's running on empty fumes. Like, I don't know if she was like gassed, if she's got mental problems, but that's not something you usually do. She's going back to marry the guy who almost killed her, her potential murderer. Okay, I totally understand forgiving someone, even though it was almost murder, forgiving people, but that doesn't mean you give them unlimited chances. There's a certain line that you cross, okay? And while you should be able to forgive everybody as a Christian, you should be able to work things out and forgive people because Christ forgived you, but there's a certain line where you can forgive somebody, but that doesn't mean you associate with them anymore. I feel like that line, murder, is way on that other side of that line. It's way over here. The line's here, murder's way over there. So that part really disturbed me about this book. I like it when after the mystery's solved, there's a chapter talking about what happens to characters and stuff like that. But honestly, this book would have been better without it. But she put it in there, so it's 2 out of 5 stars. As you guys may notice, I am dressed up a little vintage today. Vintage-esque. I mean, it's not really traditional. This is like my 3rd attempt at doing pin curls. which are super hard, and I admire everyone who can do them well. My first time turned out amazing. My second time turned out like I went to a 1-star hair salon and then they were having a really bad day. I'm not really sure how to do this stuff. I'm very amateurish. It's super frizzy. I don't know how to stop the frizz. If anybody knows someone who gives an amazing tutorial for someone with thin, frizzy hair, let me know. Just let me know. I was gonna wear like a white shirt and then put like a sweater over it, but it has cat hair all over it. She likes to sleep on that one particular item that I have laying out to, you know, use. So yeah. But since this is a Poirot thing, I thought it'd be nice to put a little more effort into a video since I have not done one in such a long time. And honestly, it was kind of fun doing this. I mean, a lot of work, but it was kind of fun. Okay, next up we have the underdog and other stories. There are 9 stories in this book, and some of them were good, some of them were bad, and we're going to talk about why. Now, the first story in here is obviously the underdog. I actually really liked this one. I liked the characters. I liked the ending. It was actually kind of funny, but in a tragic kind of way. And it's all like psychological. Of course, that was a one couch reading thing. But the first short story in this book I did enjoy, so that's 1 out of 9. The second one is the Plymouth Express. I actually really started to like this one. The beginning was very unique and I was like, wow, she's never opened up a story like this before. What's it gonna be about? I'm interested, but then it quickly started to sound familiar. It's basically a rehashing of her 6th book, The Mystery of the Blue Train, but with a different setting and different characters. And I hate that so much. You did something great as a whole book, and then you just turn it into a short story to sell a book of short stories. Just, why? I feel like that's wrong. I mean, okay, it's not wrong. It's not like a crime, okay? But I do feel like it's wrong. Like, what is the point? It's basically plagiarizing her own work. That's not a thing, though. That's not a thing. I don't think it is. Is it a thing? But I have to say, if this wasn't like a rehashing, I would have loved it because I love the Blue Train Mystery, or the Mystery of the Blue Train. It's one of those two. Just toss it around. But I actually really liked that one, and so seeing it here again, I mean, it's not like I was like, oh, you're just rehashing a story that I hate. But the longer version was definitely better. Now the third one is An Affair at the Victory Ball, and this one was, I feel like it worked as a short story, but I also feel like I would have loved it as a really dramatized full-length book. It was really unique, and for once, I had like, oh, I almost said a spoiler. I'm so evil. Okay, so there's 2 victims in this one. This is not a spoiler, you find out immediately, so, you know, don't complain. The first one was stabbed to death, and the second one died of cocaine overdose. And so this one kind of like struck a chord because the reason one person died was so kind of unique. Like most of Poirot's mysteries, it's because like someone was blackmailing, or actually wait, blackmail is like really common in her stories. Well, it's blackmailing, or it's suicide, or it's like accidental and then like things to cover it up, or it's like a maniac kind of thing, or it's like I killed 3 people because I wanted 1 gone, that kind of thing. But the reason for this killing I thought was pretty unique, and I kind of liked the little story behind it. It was fun, and I'm totally down for seeing that one as a full-length story, even though she's dead and can't do it. The disappointments. The fourth one in this book is The Market Basing Mystery, and this one actually would have been really good if she hadn't taken the exact same clues from her 18th book, Murder in the Mews. Now, I remember that book very particularly. That was another set of short stories, and in there was a short story in which the exact same main clues were used to figure out that it, that's a spoiler. Okay, the exact same main clues were there. you know? So it's like you got this major clue that's a turning point, and then you have this major clue that's a turning point, and she used the exact same ones, exact same kind of situation. All she did was change the type of characters. One was a female, one was a male, and she changed the setting. That's it. And the moment the clue was introduced, which was pretty early in the book, I was like, this is gonna end up the same, isn't it? I know the ending. And then sure enough, I was correct. I feel like this one was less of a blatant plagiarism of herself than the Plymouth Express, but still, it was there, and I was kind of disappointed because it made the ending obvious to me, and I was just kind of like, okay, let me just get through this. So, yeah. Now, I have no idea how to pronounce this 5th one, but you guys can read it for yourselves. It's lovely, isn't it? The Le Monsieur Inheritance. Le Monsieur. That doesn't feel right. Le Monsieur? Le Monsieur? Oh gosh. We're gonna call this one The Inheritance, okay? That is the 5th short story in this book. And it wasn't my favorite, but I didn't like hate it. I just didn't like super love it because it was a little creepy and morbid, but I did really like that just a flick of a tiny little twist that Poirot adds in the very last sentence of that mystery. And I was like, I didn't get it at first, and then I was like, oh! And I love it when books give you that oh moment. I kind of live for those. In the parts where I cry and get angsty and have to shut the book violently because I'm upset. But O's are one of those moments. Number 6 in this book was The Cornish Mystery, and I don't know, I didn't really like it. Didn't have any like distinct features. Like, I'll probably forget all about it in a couple months. So yeah. And there's Hastings in it, so I kind of knew it wasn't going to be that good. I mean, I didn't guess the ending, but then again, I didn't like any of the characters in this mystery, except for Poirot, obviously, but I didn't like any of them, so it wasn't that memorable. Goats. Now, number 7 is The King of Clubs, and this one was okay. I liked the character dynamics in this one, and I like how the motive was way different than what I thought it was going to be, but again, it wasn't that memorable. I wasn't fond of any of the characters in particular, and it was like one of the shortest in this book, so again, it was like, eh. Look, if you write a book, characters are always the most important thing. You can have a sloppy plot. You can have a plot that's stereotypical, but as long as your characters are unique and relatable and real, the last part's the most important, then your book's going to be amazing. Just, you know, tip out there for any writers. I don't know, you may be a writer. What's up? Now, the 8th short story in this book is called The Submarine Plans, and it really gets me jimmy-jacked because it is the exact, and I mean exact, same story as The Incredible Theft in Murder in the Mews, which is another short story collection, as I mentioned earlier. It's the exact same thing, exact. They changed just a few, I say they, but I mean Agatha. Agatha Christie changed just a few little names, and maybe a slight little stuffer here, but it's just like a condensed, take out all the fluff, condensed version of that other story. And besides for that, and the type of plans, one was submarine plans in this one, and then the other one was bomber plane plans. Oh, Agatha Christie. I feel so jaded right now. I just really was disappointed with this book. I kept reading it, like, hoping the next story would be unique, hoping the next story would just lift the book, hoping that the next story would fulfill my need for a unique mystery, and it did not. They just kept being or just ripped off from a book she's already written. Now, the 9th, the final short story in this collection, is The Adventure of the Clapham Cook, and I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong, but if I'm not, then yay. Now, this story is a little unique. Instead of solving the problems of the rich or the famous or just the bizarre, he actually solves a domestic problem. I guess that's person goes missing, domestic person, and basically the woman tells him, is this a spoiler? Nah, it's not. Basically, the woman comes to him and says, my domestic is missing, help me find her. And Poirot was initially going to decline because, you know, it's not that big of a problem. She probably just left. But she's like, you know what? This domestic, which I'm pretty sure she was a cook, is just as precious to me as a dignitary's private papers, as a high lady's jewels. Finding a good cook, a good, loyal cook, is precious. It is hard to find, it is rare, and it is beautiful, and it is worth your time. And basically he's like, you know what? I'm gonna put my stuck-up nose down a little bit, and I'm gonna help you. And I actually kind of liked that change of atmosphere. It was kind of fun. The only thing I didn't like is that I felt the mystery itself, the steps that the perpetrator and all of this took, were a little bit convoluted. I felt like I could have thought of way more simpler ways to deal with this person's problem, but they just go about it in the most roundabout way that cost a lot of money, and I was so confused. I was like, what? So this one, while it might not have been her best planned out one, it was kind of unique. I liked it. It made me laugh, and I appreciate it, like, a lot. How about you? Do you appreciate it a lot? I think that's it. Is that it? What did I give? How many stars did I give this book? I don't remember. Look, I think whatever I said earlier, I can't remember if I gave this stars or not, but I'm gonna say this is a 2 out of 5 stars because honestly, wasn't that good. I really like Agatha Christie, but if I had known it was going to be this bad, I would have skipped this one. Just flat out not read it. And there have been ones in the series that I have not read, and I've skipped them, but that's only because my library does not have them, and I'm cheap, and I'm not going to go out and buy them. Why buy them when you can ask the library to buy it for you? Well, then everyone can share. See, I'm saving paper, and I'm helping the people who couldn't buy it, even if they wanted to. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's my poor emotional support story. Don't break it down. Break it down now, y'all. Well, to recap, I do think these are the worst Poirot books I have read so far in the series. That may change with the next book I read, or the next one. I think this is like number 29, so there's like 45 in the series, so I have quite a bit to go. But I just think it's funny how the worst books I read so far, I read one after another. Is that a coincidence? Maybe. In conclusion, I gave these both 2 out of 5 stars. I would say I don't recommend you guys read this, but honestly, it's Agatha Christie, so you know, you might want to read it. I mean, if you read Taken at the Flood, you can just not read the last chapter and everything's hunky-dory. So, you know, when you read these, don't be expecting her best, because they're not. And you can fight me on that. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I just want to tell you guys to stay safe, eat donuts, and please read some good books. Not these. I don't know, I'm just being weird now because I'm bored and I don't know what to say next. For a moment, I was like, wait, did I start recording? And I just like freaked out for a little tiny second there. Okay, so the first book in this... No, can I say that? Man, have I been slouching this whole time? I got problems. I got major problems. Whoopsie. Oh. You hear that crack? I had a nice crack there. I never had a nice crack. Cool. Now I can't do it again though. Disappointment. Now number 8 really chops my khakis. Le mouchoir. I'm just gonna say the le mouchoir. Lemon? Schwar. It doesn't even say lemon. My cheeks hurt. Why do my cheeks hurt? Am I smiling too much? Is that why my cheeks hurt? I feel like Barbie in the end of the Toy Story movie. Ha! That was weird. Remind me never to do that again.